Hey everybody, welcome back to Black Lotus, where we talk about all things strange and unusual. And today we are going to be going over Richard Doty as well as the MJ12 documents. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody that we do have a group over at Facebook, and it's called the Black Lotus Discussion Group, and we talk about all the things that we talk about here. If you want to be involved with a really good group, no trolls involved, and several experts in the paranormal and ufologists and experts in cryptozoology, definitely check us out over there, and I'll drop a link in the description at the bottom. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our videos, and we will be we love to see the thumbs up. And don't forget to hit the little bell as well, so you get notified every time we do upload. Also, I have a very special announcement today, starting this week on Wednesday, and every Wednesday following. We have a brand new podcast, and it's called the Paranormal News Network, and it's going to be a weekly podcast that focuses on news and events concerning all things strange and unusual. And so definitely check us out over at PodBean. And soon we will be on others such as Spotify and Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, that sort of things, iTunes. So, but that's coming in the near future. But anyway, let's get into this today. So,
where to start?
Where to start? This is so Richard Doty, who is a former agent of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations, is quoted as saying about 80% of what you hear about UFOs and aliens is untrue, but the other 20% is factual.
Right.
The problem is that we don't know which is which, and the reason for that is because so much disinformation has been spread by the government, including by Richard Doty, that nobody really knows, and even he doesn't know. Even he didn't know which was which. He was just fed information to spread.
Right.
So let me posit a theory to you. So in World War II ended in 1945. Now, the media was all over World War II, and they sold a lot of newspapers, and they had the explosive headlines. But then in 1945, the war ends, and everything goes back to some sort of normalcy, and they're not selling the papers the way they did. So then in 1947, Kenneth Arnold spotted a group of UFOs over Mount Rainier in Washington State, right? Big news, big news. And then later in that same year, Roswell happened. The Roswell crash happened. Huge news, worldwide news. They're selling papers like hotcakes, right? And so UFOs became a main focus of people, and it was kind of fun and entertaining to see these national headlines. So the media was glomming on to every little UFO report there was and making it a big deal. Right. So because UFOs came to the forefront of American consciousness, the government wanted to act as though they were paying attention to this thing. So what they did is in 1953, they formed something called the Robertson Panel, and it was a group of scientists who wanted to show or wanted to prove whether or not UFOs were real. Well, right. They came out and said in the end, no, they're not real. There's nothing to this. But then, right before that, almost in secrecy, Project Blue Book was formed.
Correct.
And again, the government wanted the American people to think that they're paying attention to this and they're taking it seriously. But then J. Allen Hynek came out later on after Project Blue Book was what's the word I'm looking for? Disbanded. And he came out and he went into this whole thing as a skeptic, and he said that the reason the Project Blue Book was formed was to discredit every single report out there. Right. He came out of this being a big believer in UFOs. So I'm not saying that I don't believe in aliens and UFOs. You know I do. But I'm just saying that every report out there is not what it seems to be. You know, and I think that the media had a lot to do with this where it came to blowing up the whole idea.
Well, I think there's more people, too, that are out there, more than just Richard Doty, that were giving misinformation.
Absolutely.
Just to throw you off the track of what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, you know, we just watched Mirage Men, which is a story about Richard Doty.
Is that on Netflix? Prime?
It was on Prime, I believe, yeah. And good movie, pretty informative. But he even said, Richard Doty said, you know, he said, the reason I've come to the forefront is because I was the one who was named in this. He says, I'm not the only one. There's a lot of us out there, you know, doing this. And what they're doing is they're infiltrating the UFO communities and buddying up with people to be friends with them in order to spread this disinformation as well as receive information about what's going on in the UFO communities. Right. And so I know that a lot of people in the UFO communities are really ticked off with this guy. But you really can't blame him. He's just doing his job. And I mean, I think he thinks of himself as a patriot because he was working for the Air Force, you know, and so, but yeah, I mean, and so it was all blown up actually by a guy by the name of Paul Benowitz back in the 70s, and he lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, right next to the Kirtland Air Force Base, and he claimed that he saw bright lights ascending from Kirtland Air Force Base and going over toward the Manzano nuclear storage facility and disappearing behind the mountains. And he said he would see this all the time. Well, because he was kind of a patriot, he reported it to the Kirtland Air Force Base officials. Right. And they sicked Richard Doty on him. And Richard Doty went to him and told him, you know, we think it might be UFOs. You might be right, you know. And really what it probably was, more than likely, was test aircraft.
Right, and he didn't want you to know
it's top secret.
That we have the ability to be doing some of this stuff.
Yeah. And and so, you know, he buddies up with him and he says, we want you to do some investigation on this. And so they do, and they went over to Dulce, New Mexico, where Doty claimed that there was a crash landing there. Right. And all that, and totally played him for the thing, you know. But then around that time, these documents came out. Now, nobody knows if these documents are real or not.
And these are the MJ-12 documents.
The first set.
Right. And what it claimed was that there were 12 government officials that were assigned to keep UFOs and aliens a complete secret. But it's also claimed that Richard Doty is the one who released these things. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, the first set that was released in 1980, I have more of a chance of believing than the set of papers that were released in 2017. The ones that were released in 2017 just have too many abnormalities to them that they don't jive as being true to me, and they don't stand up to the test of what you would think a document would look like to me.
Right, and the government is, of course, totally denying.
Well, they deny everything, so you know I can't go by that. But the ones in 1980, why not? I mean, they could be true.
Yeah, well, even the original ones could be true, but who knows, you know, really.
And that's, like I said, that's the problem with all of this, is that nobody knows what's real and what's not.
Right.
Unless you see it with your own eyes.
I mean, unless it's declassified. That was one of the problems with the one in the paper in 2017, is that it said it was not going to be declassified. And one of the things that was odd about the paper then is, if it wasn't declassified, then why were some of the things blocked off and blacked out? They would only do that on something that they're going to be releasing.
Yeah.
So why would they do that on something that's supposedly the original copy? It wouldn't. It just doesn't jive. Plus the markings on it, it would said top secret, yes, but usually when something is stamped top secret on the actual documents, it will have the name of the whatever the program is included with the top secret. And this did not. This just had top secret across the top.
Yeah. So likely.
Yeah, and one other thing that was wrong with it too were the dates. The dates, normally, you go day, month, year in the military, but on some of these papers it went month, day, year. So they got it backwards than that would normally be on that type of document.
I see.
So I really do not believe the 2017 documents.
Well, and here's another thing. Going back to the disinformation that Rick Doty spread, one of the things he mentioned to him, and one of the reasons he took him to Dulce, New Mexico, is because he's claimed that there was an underground alien base there, and he told him that there was a battle there between the army and these aliens that were underground, and I want to say he called them Martians. And during this battle, apparently 60 servicemen died. But anyway, flash forward here to Paul Schneider, who claimed up and down that he was the first in this battle. Because he was a worker there, and he was going down there to fix something in the mines, and he encountered these aliens, and he shot, I want to say, like 2 or 3 of them, and they returned fire with these lasers, and he doesn't have a forefinger, or first finger and a thumb anymore because of it, because he blocked it. Supposedly. Now, he's feeding off of the information that Doty gave to Paul Benowitz. So if that information was a lot of crap, then how is this guy involved?
Right.
And it almost makes him look like a liar. However, he came public about this whole thing, and he was suicided. I believe he was suicided because he was shot in the back of the head twice, and found in his apartment like a week later or something like that. I don't know. I don't get it. Anybody who's shot in the back of the head twice, I don't think they committed suicide.
No, I don't think so either.
I really don't. So
it's too convenient too.
That's just it. Is it real? Is it not real? And like I said, Richard Doty probably doesn't even know.
Well, like you said, though, 20% of it is real. So what we have to pick and choose what we think it was.
Yep. So again, like I said, unless you've experienced it for yourself, you won't know what's real and what's not. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of poo-poo the whole idea of UFOs. Because they know that some of it is nothing but bullshit.
Right.
And then so they consider it all bullshit. And that's just not right, But
it makes it harder to get evidence and to get people to believe, which is the whole idea behind Richard Doty. He's doing his job well.
Yeah. And like I said, I know that a lot of people in the UFO community are upset with him, but you have to realize that, he's just doing what he's told to do, and it's not as though he's creating this stuff. He's just disseminating information that he's been given, I don't know.
I agree. I don't know. Very interesting subject, though.
Yeah, it really is. I'm surprised we haven't done anything on this.
Yeah. If you get a chance to watch the documentary, take a look at it. That was interesting.
Yeah, it was very good, actually. Yeah, I thought it was very,
You know, like most documentaries, it's a little slow at times, but it was very informative, definitely. But anyway, let's get out of here.
Sounds good.
All right, folks. Thanks a lot for watching. And until next time, keep thinking and question everything.